Okay, now we already tackle on how to import video files. Another thing that we need to learn is how to add additional lights into our scene. So there are four types of light that you can use in Blender. There are point light, sunlight, spotlight, and area light. Okay, to use the lights, make sure on the rendering mode, set it into rendering mode, which is the left here. You can see it's really dark. That's because there's no light currently in our scene. So let's put a spotlight. I'm gonna hold Shift A to show up the add menu, and on our light, I'm gonna put spotlight. Gonna drag it up. You can see how our character is now lit based on our position of our light, and this is kind of neat. So if I press this, I can then rotate where the position is. The shortcut will be using R, and double R will be more free, while single R will only rotate and relative to your screen. So I'm gonna put it somewhere like this. I'm gonna scroll it up and stuff. Okay, notice our character right now, the shadow is like a block here, and that's because in default Blender doesn't change our transparent video to use those alpha and not render the shadows based on that. And to fix this issue, you have to press and select our video, scroll down until you see shadow mode here, from opaque to alpha hash. And notice now our character have a shadow base on our alpha, which is kind of neat. You can see if I move it, the shadow fits. Okay, I'm gonna move it more, gonna rotate until I have this kind of like a Looney Tune vibe to it. Gonna move it more like this. And another thing that I need to mention is our light right now is quite dim, and that's because the light right now have 10 power of light intensity. And to change that, go to on object data properties. We should see like a small light bulb here, and our power, just increase it up to increase our intensity. Usually we go 20 depending on what you want it to be. Okay, I'm gonna explore more on this settings here. So we have our type of light here. If you want to change it to like sun or point or area, depending on what you want it, but I'm gonna go with spot. And another thing is there's color, to change the color of our light. This is useful to make like colored lights on our scene, like headlights, or maybe like a emergency or red light, or maybe some blue light to indicate like a moonlight or anything. It depends on what you want it to be. And we have power. I did mention how to change the intensity using watts. And we have specular, which is how the specular of our character, our objects, will affected by this light. If you remove the specular, our specular data will completely influenced by the lights, and basically it will reflect the light more or less using this. And we have radius to increase the radius of our point, which is not really working on our spot, but if you're using point, you can see it's a bit different. And because we can see it, it's supposed to be like that. The more, the less it is, because it's the bigger the light, but the smaller, the bright it is. Okay, I'm gonna undo it. Okay, and that's the spotlight and the settings. You don't really have to think about the other stuff, because it's just a more advanced feature that we can use, like custom distance to change where the light gonna, or the distance of the light gonna be. and the spot shape is basically to change the shape of our spotlight. You can use the widget here, or you can use this guy. We can also change the blend to show how soft or harsh our spotlight is, which is kind of neat. And we can also show like a cone to show where our light is. This is actually a debugging, it will not be rendered, so you don't have to worry about that. So you can just remove this if you need it. So yeah, another light that we're gonna work with is point light. Point light is really cool because you can add two shadows or relight our character depending on where you put it. So for example, if I want to have like a blue light, I can add that as well, and maybe I can mix match it with red light. They have certain effects. So I have like a red light there and blue light here to give like this unevenness. You can see like our character have like red light and blue light depending on those lights influenced by this two spotlights, which is kind of neat. Another thing that we have is sunlight, and sunlight is good to make artificial sun. You can see it's like shading there, and obviously the shading is not really that good because we're using Eevee. Eevee is a real-time rendering, and this issue is only a problem when you're using the normal Eevee. And if you render this out, usually you don't have this kind of problem where it doesn't render whatever on the edges there. Yeah, sun acts like a sun, but only use it on outdoors or something like that, depending on what you need to add on your scene. But we don't want to use sunlight here, so I'm gonna remove it. And another light will be area light. The area light acts like those photo area light that you use on your filmmaking, and this is really nice because you can make like a photo realistic lights using this thing. And again, you can change the thing to like 20, so we have more lights. So using those lights, I mean these lights, you can add more stuff to your scene depending on your composition stuff. And if you're overwhelmed with all these widgets and stuff and you want to see the scene, you can go to this toggle. This is called overlay toggle, and just click it to remove all those widgets so you can focus on the outcome of your scene. So yeah, and notice when I move the character, the lights will always work, which is kind of neat.